I saw that Hexaware Technologies had their IPO recently. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. They debuted on the D Street, that's Dalal Street, the Indian stock market on February 19th, 2025. It was, well, a bit of a mixed bag, actually.
Mixed bag? What do you mean?
Well, the IPO price was 708 rupees per share, and it listed on the NSE at $745.50 rupees. So a premium, but only about 5.3%. Then on the BSE, it was even lower, only about a 3.24% premium at 731 rupees.
Oh, okay. So not a huge pop right out of the gate. I guess some IPOs go crazy on day one.
Exactly. But things did pick up later in the day. The stock actually hit a high of 787.2 on the BSE. That's about an 11.18% gain from the issue price.
Okay, that's a little better. So what was the company's market valuation at that point?
Their market valuation at that high point was around 47,837.72 crore rupees.
So was the IPO fully subscribed?
Yeah, it was. On the last day of the bidding process, it actually got subscribed 2.66 times. And that was mostly thanks to support from institutional buyers.
Institutional buyers, okay. So what about before the IPO? Did they get any anchor investors?
Yes, they did. Hexaware mobilized 2,598 crore rupees from anchor investors before the IPO. Carlyle Group, the private equity major, backed them.
Right, I've heard of Carlyle. So this IPO, was it a fresh issue of shares or an offer for sale?
It was a complete offer for sale, or OFS. The promoter, CA Magnum Holdings, which is part of Carlyle Group, sold equity shares worth 8,750 crore rupees.
Okay, so all the money from the IPO went straight to Carlyle Group then?
Exactly. Since it was an OFS, the proceeds went to the selling shareholder, not the company itself.
Got it. So is this Hexaware IPO a big deal in the Indian IT sector?
Well, it's the largest IPO in the Indian IT services sector since Tata Consultancy Services IPO over 2 decades ago. TCS's IPO was over 4,700 crore rupees back then.
Wow, that's a long time. So what exactly does Hexaware Technologies do anyway?
They're a global digital and technology services company.
Okay, that makes sense. And who managed the IPO?
Kotak Mahindra Capital Company, Citigroup Global Markets India, JP Morgan India, HSBC Securities, and IIFL Securities were the book running lead managers. A whole team.
So all in all, would you say it was a successful IPO or just okay?
It's hard to say definitively. The initial listing wasn't spectacular, but the stock did rally later. It really depends on your perspective, I guess.
True. It sounds like, a pretty standard IPO then.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's always risk and potential reward. Disclaimer, we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions.
Right. So changing gears a little bit, what are some of the factors that typically influence an IPO's success?
Well, that's a great question. A lot goes into it. Market sentiment, of course, is huge. If the overall market is bullish, IPOs tend to do better.
Makes sense. So the overall market health acts kind of like a rising tide lifts all boats sort of thing?
Exactly. It's like a tailwind pushing the IPO along. Then there's the company's financial performance, of course. Investors want to see strong revenue growth and profitability, or at least a clear path to profitability.
Yeah, no one wants to invest in a sinking ship, right?
Precisely. The company's business model and industry also matter. Is it in a hot sector? Does it have a competitive advantage?
So kind of like, are they selling shovels during a gold rush or are they trying to sell ice to Eskimos?
A perfect analogy. Then there's the pricing of the IPO itself. If it's priced too high, investors might be hesitant. If it's priced too low, the company might leave money on the table.
So it's like Goldilocks trying to find the just right porridge temperature, not too hot, not too cold.
Exactly. And the quality of the management team is important too. Investors want to see experienced leaders who can execute the company's vision.
Yeah, nobody wants a bunch of rookies steering the ship.
Definitely. And then, of course, there's the role of the investment banks managing the IPO. Their expertise and reputation can make a big difference.
So they're kind of like the navigators, guiding the company through the IPO process.
You got it. And then finally, there's the overall marketing and communication strategy. How well does the company tell its story to investors?
So it's like pitching your product on Shark Tank. You have to make a compelling case.
Precisely. All these things contribute to whether an IPO is a success or not. It's a complex equation.
Absolutely. So, what are some things regular people can do to make sure their investments are set up for success?
Well, before we dive into that, if you are finding this conversation helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, when it comes to personal investments, the most important thing is to do your homework.
I agree. It's kind of like don't just blindly follow the crowd.
Exactly. Research different investment options and understand the risks involved. Start with understanding the basic principles of investing, like diversification and asset allocation.
Hmm. I think it's like cooking. You wouldn't just throw random ingredients together.
Right. Diversification means spreading your investments across different asset classes like stocks, bonds, and real estate to reduce risk. Asset allocation is deciding what percent of your portfolio should be in each asset class.
Makes sense. Any last thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, investing is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't try to get rich quick, focus on long term growth, and be patient. Well, what did you think about our chat today?